know what really makes us mad? Is wasting money on CDs with only one or two good songs.
Yeah. Tell them about punk.
What's up, posers? Welcome to Funk Lotto Pod. I'm your co-host, Justin Hensley.
And I am your other co-host, Dylan Hensley.
And today we are joined by Matt and Garrett from the band Petrov, based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. They recently put out a new EP, Flowerbed, on Self-Aware Records, who we've also had Josh and Sarah on the show in the past. And it's a pretty good conversation. Dylan, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about the 2004 album, almost a rock opera, Is a Real Boy by Say Anything. A lot to talk about. We jumped around a lot.
This conversation was more like on topic, I guess, than some of our more recent ones have been. Like, we didn't digress a ton. Like, we talked about the record, or at least say anything.
At least
for
the band, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're a fan of staying on topic, then this is the one for you. It's kind of an iconic record, so definitely worth talking about. Actually, it just dawned on me as we're recording this now, this is actually going to be our last episode of 2020 with guests.
Oh.
We decided that since the holidays are coming up, and as of this episode going up, we're past Thanksgiving, so we skipped the week of Thanksgiving. Had 2 episodes to post, and then our radio episode, we will take a week off for Christmas, and then we'll do our best of the 2020s. Now, the best of the 2020. There's only been one year in 2020.
We're predicting that everything that came out this year is going to be the best thing from the next following decade.
So we'll talk about everything that came out in 2020 that we were enjoying, and don't know what that's going to look like yet. We haven't discussed that yet, but we will definitely, you will not only hear our voices during the best of 2020s, so we'll do something similar to last year with our voicemail line and having all of our past guests chime in, as many as we can get. So, look forward to that, and enjoy the rest of the episode.
Drop from
For the sake of the listeners, could you each introduce yourselves, though, so that we can differentiate voices?
You go first.
Oh, you're pointing at me.
Yeah.
I'm Matt, and I play bass.
And I'm Garrett, and I play drums in Petrov.
Nice. Petrov 5-piece, right?
True.
Yeah. You just recently put out your second EP on Self-Aware Records. It's called Flower Bed. And how has the reaction been?
I think people been pretty receptive to it.
Would say so. Like to think so, at least. Haven't come across the super bashing on it articles yet, so that's good.
Pandemic times is obviously not ideal for releasing an album, so all you got is just like online promotion, which is important, but like we can't play like legitimate shows or anything to get it out there. But so far, people seem to not hate it. So
yep, that's all we can ask for.
That's good. Our friend of the show, Steve Doesn't, who runs the Doesn't Suck, which is a blog, he was really talking your EP up on there.
Oh, thanks.
He's one of those guys too that like he goes deep into Bandcamp and tries like almost everything that's out there, like that was released within the week or so, and like he compiles like a list for throughout the month. And I definitely think he found yours just diving into Bandcamp. I don't know that because he lives in Vancouver, I believe. He's definitely yeah. So I think
British Columbia.
Yeah, I think
I
he
very
just
respect that.
he totally just like came across it. I mean, he may have found it through recommending it on our page, but yeah.
You know, I remember the name of his Doesn't Suck on some like comment or saying like, hey, we did a review, and I remember I liked the name, and so it's very nice of him.
Yeah, he's a great writer.
Everybody's friend on Twitter.
Yeah,
just probably on Twitter.
I was gonna ask about like COVID. So was Flower Bed made pre-lockdown, or did you all work on it while everybody was at home?
The songs were, for the most part, good to go pre-pandemic. But yeah, no, it was all recorded and like finalized May, June of this year.
Yeah, I think we were just about to finally lock in the date for recording where we recorded at Archer Avenue in Columbia with Kenny McWilliams, and then everything hit, and it just kind of was like, okay, maybe next month we'll see how things are, maybe next month, until it was about June, and then by then we at least kind of understood enough about like how to use mask and sanitizer and to make it at least as safe as possible in a bubble and just super precautionary. Still not ideal to have to do it in that time, but we were confident and felt safe with 5 people all doing the right things and all of that we were like, okay, let's get in and out and do this and record it as safe as we can. Yeah. So that was
Everybody
June.
hold your breath.
Yeah, for real.
Did everybody just go down at one time and just stay together?
We drove back and forth every day for 5 days, but Charlotte's, only it was 45 or what was I forget now, an hour and 10 or something.
About an hour or so. It's not a bad drive.
No.
Down 77 pretty much.
Yeah, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, North Carolina people will know the 77 route for sure.
Shout out 77. I hate 77 so much. I used to work in Fort Mill, and I had to take it every day to work, and I loathe it, of course.
Let's see. How long has Petrov been a band? I know the last EP came out in 2019. When did you start?
It's funny. I just realized that on the About Us thing on Spotify, it said that I think I put that Sleepier, the first EP, came out in 2018. Or wait, was it 18 or 19? Now I forget which is the real one and which is the wrong one I put it.
No, I think it was 18 because we recorded it and we played our first show.
Then I had it right. I thought I did something wrong. Yeah. I don't know. We were band 18, I guess, or was it 17 for a year before we did it in 18? No, I think it was 19. Sleep Here, no?
Was it?
Bandcamp says March 15th, 2019.
I knew it, yeah. Okay. I had 2018 on our thing for so long, and then Mary Grace like,
we recorded it back in 18, right? It just took forever to get out.
I guess. Yeah, either 2017 or 18 is when we formed. and played for like a year, getting the songs down before even like playing our first show or anything. Right? Did I make that up? That's what it was, right?
Yeah, I think me, you, Mike, and Sid got together in 2017. We fucked around for a bit.
Yeah, there's various
when Mary
stages.
Grace came in 18, then we became the band.
That sounds right.
I'm pretty familiar with the Charlotte scene. Were you in any bands prior that I would have heard of?
Me and Matt probably out of all of
yeah.
us, maybe some. You were you do your list of creds.
A band years ago called The Local Traumatic, but probably the most recent one is Kuzco, an instrumental math rock band.
I've heard the name
Instrumental.
Yeah.
I was in a first long time ago, lo and behold. God, this is going to sound very vain. Kind of hardcore band, Richard Parker.
Oh,
Old Souls is what
Dick Parker
became into Dick Parker. All right, they're actually playing tonight at Neighborhood Theater for this live stream thing. Seems really cool. It's with Josh and Sarah and All Right, who are Self-Aware Records, who put both our EPs out for a while.
Yeah, we got to try and get on one of those.
I just saw part of that. Part of Faye's set on that before the call.
Oh,
I was
cool.
watching that.
Heard they look very good and sound great, the streams.
Yeah, the quality of the streams
is
is great. Like, it's like pro shot looking stuff. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
We might not ever need to go back to real live music.
Don't say that, no.
I can sit on my couch.
That does sound good. Also,
cheaper.
Ernie was the latest one, probably before Petrov, friend Lamont and Ernie. But yep, that's the list.
I remember
Various
Richard
bands
Parker.
you probably haven't heard of.
I remember Richard Parker.
Okay.
We played a bunch of shows with Oddsar back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Oh shit.
Very best bros with Oddsar. Folks, what was that band?
Cinder and Smoke.
Okay,
we never made it to Charlotte.
No, we did the closest we got was the bonus room. I don't know if you ever got to play.
Oh yeah, I played a lot of shows at the bonus.
Where was that? Why? That sounds so familiar too.
It was a couple different things, but they used to do did you play when it was in the movie theater?
Yeah, in the old Palace.
Yeah. I remember my old band, Local Traumatic, we played a couple Jorts Fests there. Those were a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had some of the Egyptian Sphinx foam statue things still there, and one of the guys in one of the hardcore bands that played the show was like, yeah, you can just jab the head of your guitar into it if you want to. You can do anything. It was
that place was really cool for when they had it, what they were doing with it. But obviously, yeah, it was not meant to last.
It definitely had some weirdness to it. I guess for the listener's sake, who's unfamiliar with the bonus room,
the Boner 5 room.
The Boner 5 room. That's definitely how it was written out. The S was a 5. It was a movie theater that had shut down and was basically being used as multiple different small businesses.
There was a church in one of the theaters.
And so, one of the theaters got rented out to be used as a music space. And it was, a lot of, high school bands, some smaller hardcore bands. I don't know if there was any touring bands that ever really came through there. Can't think of very many. But,
sounds beautiful.
The funniest thing about it, though, was that the guy who ran the place would always ask you, who you were there to see. Which band on the bill you were there to see. So I don't know if it was he was trying to figure out who the draw was.
I bet that was it.
Probably.
They were
going
to. Yeah, it was they were going to divvy up the money.
Yeah. Yeah. It was because he would take money for it, and then he would. I think he did pay the bands for the most part, but it was whoever got the most tallies on his sheet got probably the most money out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
It was a good sounding room though, but I mean it was a movie theater. It was acoustically treated.
It's very cool.
We know Josh and Sarah pretty well. We've had both of them on the show, and Susie as well from Faye.
Nice.
How did you get set up working with Self-Aware? Was it just from being around the area and knowing them from shows?
Yeah, and just forever, here supporting everybody. And I mean, being in the band helped form a much closer friendship with them. We got really close and did my first really or maybe it was second. I've only really done like 2 real tours ever, and that was one of them with them up to like Providence and back, and it was super fun. Got back and just remained friends with them even after not being in it, and just I think we formed. I think they had seen our first show that we played, which was lucky enough to be a junior astronomer's birthday show. And I think it was after they saw that, and she's like, if you guys ever and girls, ever put anything out, hit us up. And we did, because we're like, yeah, why not? They're great. And it just worked out from there.
Yeah, they're a cornerstone of the music scene for sure.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I forgot you just said that you were in All Right. I guess you played before John joined them?
Yes, precisely. I believe. Well, it was Scott, I guess. Scott, like, of Lunchbox Records and Late Bloomer, I think, was drumming for them and just kind of didn't have time and stuff. And I was like, I'll do it. And then John after me up.
Yeah, it's funny. They're on their 4th drummer now.
Something like that.
I guess COVID made the recording process weird. Has it really affected the plans for the band? Were you hoping to do a tour for the EP, or was it going to be mainly like local stuff anyway?
We did have a short, long weekend thing planned in April, trying to put our name out there before we went to record, but then that got shot down real quick.
I think we had gotten the last band to confirm after so much back and forth of getting the band to like stick on in Richmond and stuff. And it was like, super confirmed, yes. And it was like a week later, I want to say, like, none of these are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It was very sad.
Does everyone remember whenever we were like, maybe we'll have shows in June?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
I remember from work when they're like, all right, we're going to work home. We'll probably be till even like the end of the month, you guys. Like, this is good. This is serious. Like, wow.
I don't know why we thought America was going to handle that.
Silly us.
We got this. It's no problem.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to kick it with Donald Trump as our president and a Republican Senate.
Nipped right in the bud.
Last thing I wanted to say is that I thought that Sleep Year's production was a bit of a step up. Not to say that the previous EP sounds bad, but like this one sounds big. Like there's a really cool tone to the whole record. Was this like a specific direction you were trying to go for, or was it just working with your with the Kenny McWilliams?
Kenny was a big part of it. Yeah,
he definitely was. He's great. It was Pullover is another band in Charlotte that had just recorded there, and Modern Moxie both had just recorded with him. They both albums sounded great. We're like, where'd you do that? And Phil in Pullover told us where, and we're like, let's consider that. Then sounds so good. And I think just the number of days we had. I think the first EP was, I want to say it was 3 days only, right? I keep getting mixed up details for 6 songs.
It was definitely not more than 4.
Right, 3 or 4 days for 6 songs. This was 5 days for 5 songs. So it's just we could devote so much more time to each one, and he really went back and like went through everything to get the exact perfect take, and really did a lot of producer role too for this one. Helping with harmonies and all that kind of thing. And I think it was maybe a tonal thing that it was different. Michael Backlund, one of our 2 guitar players, Sid Little's the other one. Mike was all about this idea of 2 amps, I guess. Like 1 amp is on this side of them, and then the other amp's on the other side, like a other. I don't understand it really still, but they did that. I think both of them did some form of that recording with 2 amps and 2 mics, like for everything they're doing. So I think that added this whole kind of wall of soundiness to it that was definitely not there for the first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely a lot more production tricks in general. It's made everything better.
We're like, let's just go full pop, no shame anymore. We don't have to sound like the vocals are low, like just another instrument. You can't really hear them or anything. Like for the indie cred stuff, we're like, let's go full pop, bombastic, clean, whatever.
Well, it sounds great, and the extra time on it, and the producer, I guess, engineer, definitely makes it shine a little more. I mean, I love the first EP as well, but this one just feels a little bit more glossy, I guess.
Thanks. Dave Harris at Studio B Mastering also was mastering and deserves credit too.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Well, I guess we can get into the format of the show. So,
I'm so psyched. I've been like studying like I'm in school again, going back over everything of this album.
A long ass album.
Oh, but we got other stuff first. I forgot. My bad.
We do. So, we gave you the year 2004.
Don't wanna be an American idiot. Don't want a nation under the new media. January 1979 for a terrible crime. Couldn't help but laugh. My ear pressed against the path like a glass on the wall of a house in a photograph. So I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm not okay. You wear me out. Don't be scared, no, don't be shy. I used to do this all the time. Yeah, you know it, Jen.
Hearing on the radio. Playing on the stereo. Watching live video.
The 2004, Dylan, I like to have you lead us off in the what else came out that year in the world of punk.
Well, I mean, just the broader pop culture too. I feel like this paints a picture. This is the year of American Idiot by Green Day.
That was my suggestion.
And
That's what I wanted to do.
also the film Dodgeball.
Oh, gosh.
When I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, that takes me right back.
Instantly.
This is also the year of plenty of. It's really like the absolute peak of the post-punk revival, the whatever you want to call that. I don't think that the name post-punk revival actually makes any sense if you consider the influences of those bands.
It
But
would just be like punk revival, I guess, because it's after the punk. Like,
I mean,
Right,
you've
right.
got Franz
Yeah,
Ferdinand, Hot Fuss by the Killers.
that's what I wanted to do.
A couple
Just-
other
we
ones.
both
There was
wanted to
a. I want to say there was a Hives record too.
Oh, yeah.
There's an Interpol
Yes.
record.
Yeah.
Yep.
The
Oh yeah, the
Which
Libertines.
Interpol?
It is.
I think Mary
Antics.
Grace wanted to do a Descendants one more.
Yeah, I guess
that's the big Descendants comeback record.
yeah.
Well,
Before the new comeback record.
yeah. The second comeback record, because there was the 90s one too.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. I guess for the listeners' sake, when I originally reached out to the band, I was going to have two different people on this show, and they couldn't agree on what album to talk about. So, what would they have picked if they stayed on?
I think so. Mary Grace, definitely Descendants. Cool to Be You was one, and then I think her and me both were into Catch for Us the Foxes. Me Without You was in their potential. I can't remember other ones for her specifically. Me and Sid love Mastodon. So Mastodon Leviathan was 2004 too, but I thought maybe it leaned a little too straight up metal-y or something for this. And then I think he was into the Interpol one too as a potential.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Hot Fuss, me and Matt probably could have equally talked about Hot Fuss. Hot Fuss is like one of my just top 5 albums, probably all time, but this one seemed more in line for the purposes of this as well. And then for me, These Arms Are Snakes, Auctioneers, or The Lion Sleeps When It's Antelope Go Home, another favorite. That was another potential. But we kind of wanted to just pick one that, we could have multiple ones of us have a lot of substance to talk about, I guess. And I think Matt, you said American Idiot was your other choice.
Yeah.
Oh, and 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, My Chemical Romance was definitely discussed as well.
That would also have been a good one. I saw Green Day on their American Idiot tour with My Chemical Romance opening up for them at the Bojangles Coliseum.
Do you remember
that's a highlight.
when that record came out? It felt like a comeback almost, even though they didn't go away. They just
Yeah.
Talking about Green Day?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because what was the last one before? Warning.
I think so.
Possibly,
That was
yeah.
was that
Yeah.
I don't know. I
even
remember American
2000s?
Idiot being like the first one where I'm kind of like, it's not the same. Oh no, it's Shenanigans. I guess was the one right before it. It says,
Oh, weird.
and then Warning was before that. See, I don't even remember Shenanigans.
Was that a
Shenanigans
comp?
Was like an EP or a comp, maybe?
I don't know. They look like all regular new songs. I don't know.
Unless it was it says it's a compilation, so I
Does
don't
it?
know. It could have
Okay.
been like B-side material, though.
Right.
Yeah, so I guess it probably was like 4 years before there was a new full length. And then Warning was weird because it was like acoustic for the most part.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do remember I got that CD from the library. And
You know, it's funny. My mom had Dookie in her car for some reason before I had even heard of them, and I took it and listened. I'm like, why do you have this? And that's how I was introduced to it from my mom. It's not even that cool of a mom in that regard. She's a great lover. But musically, I was like, this is not your music.
She just probably just liked one song.
That could have been it.
Well, it was also the Bush record. It was the
Right.
George Bush record. So like,
Yeah, maybe
Oh,
she
man.
was just like, yeah, I love the kids being all punk against the government.
yeah, that was probably the biggest record that came out that year as far as punk music is concerned. I guess, yeah, you mentioned a couple that are kind of in line with the record we're talking about today. The 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge by My Chemical Romance. There was,
And then the Taking Back Sunday one too.
Yeah.
I forgot was like probably the one other that's very.
that's like the
Close-ish.
Taking Back Sunday record, right? Well, I guess there is some debate. Some people really like the one before, right?
The one before and the one
Yeah.
after. But I like I forgot the name of it. That one we're talking about. With Cuba,
Oh.
not Cuba,
Where You Want to Be
yes.
is the one that was 2004.
Is this the one with... No, I'm thinking...
Tell All Your Friends was like the one that I knew of as like the one, I think.
Yeah, we have friends who weren't necessarily in this scene who love Tell All Your Friends. So that one, Make Damn Sure was on the record after. That
Yeah, I
was
think
the
that
one
was Louder Now.
Yeah, that was the one I was thinking of. That was like my first not introduction, because I definitely had heard songs from before that record, but like that was the one that got like a ton of video play.
Yeah, the Make Damn Sure video was pretty awesome. That's what I've known about him for a minute, but that record's like, oh, I get it now. And it's always fun. Adam Lazar, I don't know if he still lives in Charlotte, but a couple years ago he moved back into town, and it was just seeing him on the street. Like, you were my god in high school. Now you're reading at the same place I am. You're at Harris Teeter. And John Nolan was living here too for a minute. That was pretty cool.
I think he does still live in Charlotte.
Does he still live in Charlotte?
Yeah.
I haven't seen him since.
I know one of them moved. I don't know.
This is also the year Futures by Jimmy Eat World, which was
I forgot. That was God. That would have been another one I could have talked about forever. I think that might be my favorite of theirs.
That is my favorite Jimmy Eat World record.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a Bleed American fan for myself, but
Me too.
Futures
Love it all.
Yeah, it's all
is
good.
amazing. Yeah,
I still like Clarity too.
yeah,
So
Clarity,
good.
Static Prevails has good stuff. Like they're Chase's Light. They are a legendary band for a reason.
Oh yeah.
There's like a string of like perfect records there. The later material is, it's not bad, and it sounds like Jimmy Eat World. They're just slower.
It's moved into the butt rock phase a little bit.
I remember hearing that. I guess it's Invented. I'm looking at Spotify right now. That was one of the first albums where I heard the song "Coffee and Cigarettes," and like the chorus of that song was playing. I'm just like, oh man, I don't like feeling this when I'm listening to Jimmy Eat World. But it's still their worst is still going to be like a good, well done song in general to me. So that's a good thing.
They're one of those bands that, like, regardless of like the album itself, they're going to do the thing that makes you like them. Like it's gonna sound like him singing. So. 2004.
There's a couple more Rock Against Bush records. We've got Siren Song of the Counterculture by Rise Against, and there's a Bad Religion record, Empire Strikes First. Those were the incendiary.
Sorry if we steered you away
takes of punk.
from the rest of the list and interrupted you. I forgot there's so many albums that came out.
Yeah, Dylan was messaging me earlier today. He's like, "Look at this record and this record. I can't believe like."
Yeah, why did we pick anything
Now I'm thinking that.
of all these deeply political albums?
Well, they would have been felt a little dated. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. How do you feel out of all the things that we've stuck with that for this lovely podcast in terms of falling in line of what you usually do? Like, is Say Anything? Did it fall within it? I guess is that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
We've
yeah,
talked about My Chemical Romance in
Mhm.
the past. We've talked about Taking Back Sunday.
And you know what? That might be why we didn't pick those two. I scrolled through, just didn't want to pick one that was you've already done. You know.
yeah,
we haven't touched Say Anything.
that is probably, and this is like the Say Anything record to talk about because I don't know,
Yes.
I guess we can get into it. So we gave you 2004, and you picked "Is a Real Boy" by Say Anything.
When I watch you, wanna do you right where you're standing. Yeah, right on the foyer, on this dark day, right in plain view. Oh yeah, of the whole ghetto, the rooftop meadows, but we ignore that. Yeah, you're lonely, baby. This war is crazy. I won't let you down. Oh no, no, no. I won't let them take you. Won't let them take you. Hell no, no. Oh no. I won't let them take you. Won't let them take you. Hell no, no.
Yeah, it is. It's the one to talk about. Like, they have other records, but nowhere near as popular or well liked. I guess there's fans of what, baseball. There's those people who are like, I
Yeah.
was there. I liked the first record.
I liked them before they were cool.
I'm even the self-titled, two
Yeah.
after is still. I really liked that one, and the other.
I really liked In Defense of the Genre, and I listened to the self-titled nonstop for a hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, then I also heard I saw a lot of weird comments that said even the 2019 record was good. All very appropriate. I didn't listen to it, so I couldn't tell you if that's true or not. But
Yeah, I haven't got on it.
I think I did one. It was very polarizing, I guess, for the truest of Say Anything fans. Our friend Carl Kuhn, who's in Museum Mouth, was heavily collaborated with him for that album, and I think he played drums on a few of them and sang on a few of them, and that's what made me want to check it out. But it's different. I honestly don't remember the most of it, but Is a Real Boy definitely put him on the map and is most people's first introduction to them, I would assume.
yeah, let me run through some stats on the record real quick. So, it was released August 3rd, 2004 on Doghouse Records. That's a label I hadn't thought about in a long time. This is the second album by Say Anything, and the personnel on this record is Max Bemis on vocals, guitar, bass, and keys, and Cody Linder on percussion and drums. There are a few additional musicians on the record as well, most notably Casey Presswood from Hot Rod Circuit plays some additional guitar on the record. And it was produced by Max and Tim O'Hare and Stephen Trask. So, I guess you touched on it a little bit. I usually ask this first thing. Why did you choose this record specifically? I mean, I guess you mentioned that it kind of fit with the tone of the show, but I assume you wouldn't have picked it unless you were fans of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go, Matt. Why did you pick?
I guess it was a pivotal album for me because that's when I really started to get into like playing music, that time frame, and it just caught me and it always stuck with me. And every time I listen back to it, it just doesn't get old. It's always just good. Everything about it.
Yeah, for me, let's see, 2004, we were both like 14, 15, whatever,
Around
early
there.
high school.
Yeah.
So I was coming from just pretty much listening and just not being aware of or knowing where to look or know of anything else besides like new metal, pretty much. I was just fully Limp Bizkited and System of a Down and Korn, along with, like Eminem and, all the 106.5 alternative rock stuff was just like all I would listen to too, and random other stuff like Dream Theater or whatever randomness. But hearing this, I was like, wow, Get Sexual 2 was one of like the only 2 singles that were for it that came out. So that was the first song I ever heard from it. That kind of became, I don't think memes really existed at that point yet, but I feel like the title alone and like the chorus could be its like own meme if they were a thing back then. So it caught on around school of like people, have you heard this song? It's like really weird but funny kind of. It was almost like jokey. Everyone's acting like it was kind of jokey or something. But I listened to him like, whoa, he's like, I mean, it was new for me because it was very tongue in cheek and like ironic and that kind of thing, but it was like negative thoughts still, kind of morbid stuff. But I was like, whoa, new metal talked about morbid stuff, but it said the music sounded like that, but you can also have like weird thoughts but it's like happy music that's like upbeat and rocking. And I was like, whoa, that's new. So I was like, I'm gonna look into this.
2004, I think, was the beginning of us really getting into metalcore and like post-hardcore, whatever that even really meant. Like,
I think 2004 is when that Under Oath album came out.
Yeah.
Let's set it all off.
Yeah, that was I think that was the year we went to our first like show like that. We went and saw Demon Hunter with Dead Poetic and Haste the Day.
Oh shit, Haste the Day.
And it was Dead Poetic fronted by Skylar Kroom from He Is Legend, because the singer of Dead Poetic had to like go home for something.
A wedding.
Like a wedding in the middle of their tour. Or like a couple of dates. So Skylar filled in and he like didn't know any of the words.
Beautiful.
So that was a pivotal like year for us, because like that was 4 bands right there that I was now introduced to.
You mentioned that Mastodon record. I was really into that around this time period. Probably more into 2015, but yeah.
I wish I knew at the time. I found out about them so much later, but it's great.
2005. Wow. I said 2015. I'm thinking this is like 5 years ago, but it was.
No, you're good. I still think of the year 2000 is still my basis of like, how long ago was 1900? Oh, 100 years. Obviously. Nope. You got him 20 more years on it.
There was a tweet that was going around that was like, 1980, how long ago was that? And they're like, 20 years. They're like,
Right.
That was 40 years ago.
It's weird.
Yeah, having a new millennium is kind of throws off our perception of time.
It was such a beautiful even number. Couldn't it have just stayed there and not changed?
Yeah, my original introduction to Say Anything was probably the video for Wow, I Can Get Sexual Too. It's funny because that song doesn't come out until like 2 years after this EP or this album.
Really?
It
wasn't one of the singles for it, like before it came out.
It was the record came out on Doghouse. It sold like 20,000 copies or something like that, or maybe even higher than that. I have the number written down here. Yeah, 20,000 copies. And then they wound up getting signed to Sony. And so Sony reissued it in 2006 with like a bunch of bonus tracks. I think they combined it.
Oh, so that's what I'm looking at on Spotify, is that reissue probably. Okay.
Yeah. Because when you picked it and I went to listen to it, I was like, an hour and a half. Oh, no.
Yeah, our beat.
And I was like, oh, wait. These are bonus tracks. I don't have to listen to this. So, yeah, I remember seeing the video for Wow, I Can Get Sexual Too, and it was on Fuse. We watched it on Fuse.
Oh, yeah. Love me some Fuse.
Steven's Untitled Rock Show.
Yep.
It's so funny. My initial opinion of that song, though, was I hated it. I always found that song grating, and I don't know the specific parts about it that really drove me crazy. I don't know. I kind of feel like this whole record is kind of like that to me. I saw a review or a comment that said the first comment was said that this album is really fucking annoying, but there are some really good songs on here as well. And I was like, that's what it is. It's a simultaneously annoying record with good songs on it.
It's funny that you mentioned that you hated Well, I Get Sexual too, because when we were talking about it in the band chat, our singer was like, "It's the only song I know, and it makes me not want to listen to this band ever."
It definitely didn't help me.
Yeah, my
Um,
first Alive with the Glory of Love is what hooked me, and Why I Get Sexual was like, oh, that's the goofy fun song.
Yeah.
But yeah,
All right.
Alive is
There's-
definitely the one that's like, oh, I get it.
There's definitely some thread of slight obnoxiousness and kind of just over the topness with this level of ego that kind of he has. But to me, the context was always super important because it's like, I mean, reading about it, I didn't even remember this till just looking at the Wikipedia before this again. I mean, it was supposed to be like a rock opera with characters and a cast and all this stuff. So I'm trying to review it with the lens of these are characters, and the irony is this whole meta thing that, I mean, with song names, it's a metaphor fool. There's so many levels of who is speaking which character, who are the thoughts actually about, what does he mean here? But then even just the vocal, I mean, sonically, it's just, if you don't like his voice, you're gonna not like his voice. And I could see how, wow, I Can Get Sexual 2 being the first song you hear of it turning people off because it's almost jokey. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Max Mimis's voice doing that song.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
The
just
perfect storm.
if you like you said, if you don't like his voice, you're definitely not gonna like it. And it's Say Anything is a very divisive band. To the point where there's not many people in the middle. No one's really lukewarm on it.
True.
It's usually pretty strong reaction
Yeah,
either
that's a
way.
good point.
You either love it or hate it. I'm not crazy about it.
I'm so glad we had you both re-listen to these songs we hate for this.
All the words in my mouth that the sea deemed unworthy of letting out banded together to form a makeshift militia and burrowed bluntly through my tongue and my teeth. And I stood proud in the gallery with my open socket of a mouth for them to see. They all just laughed and said, that boy's got whoa. He lives with whoa. And this girl who I met, whose pride makes her hard to forget, she took pity on me horizontally, most likely because of my band, and that's all I can get when I'm lonely. And these visions of death seem to own me in the quiet of the classrooms all across the stacked United States of whoa. We live with whoa. She said, I can't get laid in this town without these pointy fucking shoes. My feet are so black and blue, and so are you. Please take me out of my body.
Part of the job.
But in the interest of giving it a fair shake, like what Justin said, there are a lot of really good songs on here. And there are, even on a lot of the songs that I don't like overall, there's interesting parts. The way everything is written is, you can have a great riff in a song that's kind of average with a lot of the songs on this record. So it was a wild ride, even within each individual song.
It's funny you say about riffs, because for me, another thing is that for me, just listening to anything for the first time, I'm listening for the music. Lyrics have kind of always, and including vocal melody in the music, the lyrics, literally the words that they're saying, have always, for whatever reason, kind of fallen secondary to me, and that's usually a second pass, to be okay, what was he actually talking about? If I liked the music, now I can investigate that. But there's rare bands where what they're saying is just so a main part of it, or I just thought it was so interesting that I'm like, oh, I'm actually noticing the lyrics on the first listen of this, and this was one where, to me, it's actually the main reason I like them. The music has this entire album. There's some riffs and stuff, but for me, it's not nearly about the music. It's all kind of regular pop, punky, punk, whatever general music. I like the synths. That was like a new kind of ingenuitive thing in terms of like just this genre. I guess that wasn't being done a ton. Maybe that's totally not true. But for me, it was really one of the only bands where lyrics are the main actual draw for me and what really caught me. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a record that you notice lines from like very quickly. Like I'm the same way. I don't tend to notice lyrics in a song the first go round, or even the second or third. Sometimes it takes me like a while to be like, okay, I really like this music. I should look and see what he's singing about, or And I was like, I don't want to accidentally like something that that I don't agree with. And I guess his vocal delivery, as unique as it is, it definitely stands out from the music. But I do kind of disagree that the music was just kind of standard pop punk, though. There's a lot of parts to these songs. Like,
yeah, what I was gonna say. That's another thing that caught me into it. Like when I was learning to play music, like I will listen to these songs and they have so many parts and they're all different, but they're all part of one song, and they are just like your typical like Green Day 3 chords, straight eighths kind of a thing. There's rhythm, there's all kinds of different instruments, and they're all woven together into, I'm not gonna say operas, but the idea was to write a rock opera at some point, right? That's what he was going for.
Super originally, apparently, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know.
And it comes across.
You're right. Wait, I guess I play drums. I don't know how to talk about anything besides drums, really, in terms of musical stuff. But when you just said, the 3 chords ishness, that's all I meant in terms of not doing anything, super crazy technical, whatever. But the arrangement, you're right. That's kind of what stuck out
each
musically
song
more
is
than
like
the notes.
its own album. Like when I listen to Belt, like it starts off like heavy, then it gets like happy pop chorus, then it has the huge gang vocals at the end. It's just like you went through a whole journey in a 4-minute song. You don't see that too often, especially in that realm of pop punk.
It's like prog emo or something.
Musically musically in terms of like the arrangement and the song structure, it is really, really unusual for the genre at the time. For anything emo, pop punk, like I would compare musically to like Dismemberment Plan or maybe a little bit of what Cursive was doing earlier. So I feel like those were probably influences more so than what was going into a lot of what other bands were doing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I bet that comes from the idea that it was going to be like a rock opera. Because to me, it does. If you would have told me it was a rock opera, I would have believed it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the way the songs are arranged. Yeah, it is that thing where it's like, now here's a new part of the song that's like gonna go for the rest of the song. Like it's not necessarily the same as the verse and the chorus, but
right.
It does have a theatric feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's one of my favorite parts about this album is every song is theatrical, with the lyrics being so imperative and the music being so bombastic. It really
and even
does
just
feel
3-part harmonies coming like like it's straight up theatrical. Yeah.
Which it kind of makes sense because one of the producers was like the writer of Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which was like kind of a big musical in the 2000s. I'm not even a big musical fan, and I like that one. So like,
Stephen Trask. Yeah,
So-
he was a music director for
because they met at Wesleyan,
at
I guess.
Squeezebox.
Is that what it was? Okay.
in the
Yeah.
To me, it's interesting that I never listened to baseball, so I can't say what that record does as far as songwriting. I know he was really young when that record came out, 1920. So I don't know if...
I was gonna say, wow, a long career. He was 19 or 20.
No. So I imagine, I've never listened to that record, but I imagine it's probably more in the vein of the genre, the scene, emo, pop punk sort of combination there.
So long, I don't even remember.
Yeah, I can't remember last time I listened to that album.
Menorah Majora, I remember more. So that was like, what was that? Oh, okay. So baseball is disc 1 of this thing, and then disc 2 was Menorah Majora. No, this is some early rarities. Never mind. Ignore what I'm saying. There's so many different versions.
Yeah. So it makes sense why like that. This record would have been on Doghouse if that was what that record sounded like. Because Doghouse was doing Get Up Kids and Hot Water Music and All American Rejects. Like, this feels like a major label record, even though it did come out in Doghouse first. I mean, Sony picked it up later. But it does have the ambition of like a more major label record, which is impressive. For this to be your second record and you go like you plan to write a rock opera for it. Like, I can't imagine that Get Up Kids were going to do that. I don't see how we're doing a rock opera.
At the expense of just his mental health, it seems like even reading back, I totally forgot about all the stuff of the whole, like, he thought a mockumentary was happening and everyone's filming him and stuff. And so I think it looks like that was the reason he kind of scrapped the whole cast and theatrical part as much in terms of literal characters and storyline and stuff, and kind of focus more on the music. But no matter what, he wasn't going to be able to get rid of some theatricality to it that had to stay in there.
I mean, I imagine the songs were written for the most part too, so yeah, maybe the cast is gone, but it's still written like those songs, I guess.
Well, and the characters are still there.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, all of these songs are character songs, which it's really... I mentioned this to Justin earlier when we were talking before the show, but as much as I'm not a fan of it, I am really impressed by his ability to write characters, like to write realistic people into these songs, and they're not good people necessarily. And he's able to have that distance between himself and those characters, and he can work through things and process things with those characters. And I'm really impressed for him to do that at the age that he was. And being that he was playing in a genre that has often been criticized for being too autobiographical and too earnest, and people are just dumping their real private feelings into songs. For him to work through them in a different way is really impressive.
And the record begins with a song of rebellion. Belts to industry, so they carted me off, naked but that belt around my waist, it was my father's once, I still see his face, I said whoa, oh, they carted me off, yeah, whoa, they carted me. But I managed to escape the good gendarme. I fled through field and farm, stripped of natural charm. Naked but that belt I wear so well. Past the pyramids and the Liberty Bell, I said whoa, they carted me off, yeah, whoa, they carted me. This is something I have to do for myself, yeah, this is something I have to do
initial reaction to the song, the Molly Connolly song,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, fuck this dude. Like, I was like, oh man, this song is gross. And then like I read later, I was like, oh, there is no Molly Connolly. I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
Okay,
Even
I guess this
listening,
is
there's always been an element of like, not gonna lie, there's just when you hear the raw words of "I like to kill little girls," or like you don't want to say goodbye or I'll soak you in formaldehyde, or like get in my bed, I want to kill you. It's like there's always going to be some raw reaction to that, and I think the kind of edginess, shock value thing was definitely more of a thing in the mid 2000s than it would be allowed to or looked at favorably now, obviously too. But it's for me, his was always kind of different in terms of it's one, it's a character. Two, he's addressing how all of this stuff is terrible, and the whole comment I would think is that it is not a good thing to be admired or anyone should ever do or anything. And it just seems like he's at least aware of it, and he brings up therapy and stuff in just much different ways than it seems like other dudes singing similar things were like just like, no, this is me, this is real, like
This is how I really feel.
right. And I'm not trying to make excuses or anything, even that it makes me feel gross or so. I don't know, I just took it as like he's aware of what he's doing more so, I thought.
Well, he's distanced himself from a lot of this record.
Right.
Like I know recently, the last few years, like they specifically said like they weren't going to play "Wow, I Can Get Sexual Too" anymore, and probably other songs from this record. So his awareness has continued to develop and mature, which I think is at least this guy's not actually the creep that a lot of these guys were.
Right. Yeah, and I know he was just going through so much back then too. There's his being bipolar and all the other stuff.
Right, and on Say Anything, the self-titled one, the song Mara and Me, I went to that one because I realized how, like, what is the lyric on there? It's like, I can't keep writing the same damn songs about self-deprecation and be ironic all the time. And like, he's like, yeah, no, that shit, no. So, yeah, it's good to address that.
Yeah, because like 2004 emo, especially at this time, doesn't have a great reputation. We got Simple Plan put out records this year. This is the year that like, Kill Whitney Dead put out one of their biggest records. Speaking of awful misogynistic bands. But like, and I do remember reading about like probably in my early 20s when like a lot of this stuff was being looked at through the lens of these lyrics are kind of fucked up. Like listening to this record, I was like, is this one of those records? And then reading about how a lot of it is more ironic, like they're written from a point of view that's not necessarily his own. Like
a lot of it was commentary on the genre too.
And there's some people who, would say and deserve to be able to say that just, saying the things alone enough itself is like not cool, no matter the context or, layers of irony or anything. And I think it's good to be discussed, at least all these views,
Yeah. I think context is really important when it comes to a writer's intent. But yeah, music, it's an art form that when it's out there, people will take it and interpret it how they want to. And now, is that the writer's fault? No, it's not the writer's fault. People are just going to do what they want to with the music. Maybe
there's an audience. You know someone's going to receive it. Like when you write something, you know that someone's going to read it and do something with it that you might not like. So
I think more importantly is it's not that you shouldn't write the songs. It's just that maybe you should let your intent be really well known. I don't know. It's hard to say because art is art, and it is like it's up to you to express yourself how you want. So who's to say what's the proper way to express yourself? But I guess you have to release stuff with that in mind.
It's a complicated combo for sure.
Yeah, it's a thin line every time.
Mm-hmm.
And we are probably not the best equipped to have that conversation.
Always learning.
Yeah.
Trying to.
Yeah. I guess.
But this all stemmed from you saying like, "Oh, is this going to be gross?" But I understand those thoughts for sure because I had the same thoughts and still do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I definitely was like, oh, fuck this. Like, the Molly Connolly song, and then the one where he, like, says pussy a bunch of times, the feudal. I was like,
About the old people?
What are you doing? And then I was like, oh, okay, it's not his point of view again, but it's just like, I'm not reading the lyric book as I'm listening to the record, so it's like, yeah, there's just lines that'll jump out at you as being like, is that cool?
Right. Right.
I will say though that Dylan, I think, is probably less of a fan of this record than me. I listened to I knew that one single first, and then I had some friends who were like, "Is the Real Boy is a really good record," and I was like, "Really, that band?" And so then I remember in my earlier 20s, like going back and listening to it and being like, "Hey, this is a good album." I enjoyed it then, but it wasn't one that like kind of became one of my records that I would come back to multiple times. So it was interesting to come back and listen to it again with like whatever whole new set of, tastes that I have now. And I will say I do enjoy the first 4 tracks quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they kind of all are really strong songs. Felt, Whoa, Writhing South, Alive with the Glory of Love. Like, lots of moving parts to those songs. Each of those songs has something in it, and I'm like, I don't like that. But there are like a majority of the songs that I like. I'd say probably beginning with Yellow Cat, which is a fine song. Yellow Cat, Red Cat.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. It's just slower. That is kind of where I lose interest in it. But even then, a lot of these songs have something in them that I'm like, oh, I like that. I like that little synth intro on Chia Like, and I like the gang vocals on Slowly Through a Vector. So there's definitely something I enjoy on most every song on the record.
I forgot another thing. What made me just straight up want to listen more after hearing it was, specifically after Wow I Can Get Sexual, to hearing just him saying, she took off her underwear. I forgot all the rules my rabbi taught me at the old shul. Being Jewish, it was like the first time I had ever heard anyone mention any specifically Jewish thing in any piece of music ever. So I'm like, dang, that's cool too. Like, just hearing that being said in Alive with the Glory of Love too, inspired by his parents surviving the Holocaust, like stuff like that. I was like, oh shit, there can be mainstream quote unquote music talking about Jewish stuff. That's cool too. So that was another reason I was like, I'm at least gonna give all of this a shot and listen, because that's cool.
Yeah, especially ones that are not Adam Sandler.
Oh yeah, it's no Hanukkah song, but
right. I thought "Alive with the Glory of Love" was an interesting song. Like, it's about his grandparents surviving the Holocaust, but then there's like references to sex in the first verse.
Right, and you know what? You know the site Genius that like shows lyrics and then people's interpretation of what those lyrics mean and all that. So I did that for like every song on this album, and for that one, because you're right. You think like, really? And the work camps, you're talking about just like wanting to fuck you right where you're standing. Like, can we say that on this?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But so in the little sub notes on the right where people put like their little historical definitions and all that, it was like, how sex was banned because it would lead to creating more Jews, and that's not something they wanted. And so it did make more sense about how like that act, he put it raunchly to be kind of the tongue-in-cheekiness, I guess. But I do kind of get that, like having sex right there would in itself, be this like rebellious act and that kind of thing. So I kind of got that angle more combined with just accepting that he's kind of raunchy and jokey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be an act of defiance in that exact situation. So yeah. The weird, like it was his grandparents.
Well,
yeah,
it was always that. So even then though, I guess like he is the character of his grandpa or whatever. Like there's so many.
Yeah. Yeah, I almost wonder like how different this record would have been if he'd like been able to do the full rock opera aspect of it. If it would have been like much more clear. But then would it have been as successful?
I can't even picture what that would have been like.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine so.
Well, it would have if they had I wonder if they would have waited to release it, because it would have then came out the same year as American Idiot, which was definitely a rock opera.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
that
then-
would have been an interesting, like, you can't release it because you're going to look like you just copied Green Day, even though clearly you were working on it for just as long as Green Day was
Right.
probably working on American Idiot. Maybe
Interesting
even
thought.
longer, because I think, isn't the story that American Idiot was like, they wrote it really quickly because
They lost the
they
record before.
lost the record that they had just recorded or
Yeah.
something?
I
It
didn't
got
know
stolen.
that.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I remember that now. It was stolen. Like the record they
They-
had recorded was stolen by the producer, right? Or not a producer, but like
They wrote a whole nother full album and rewrote that it's not the same album at all.
right. As far as we know,
What?
I don't know how much
I didn't know that.
similarity there is. I could see maybe American Idiot being the one song that you would keep
Mm-hmm.
because it felt the most distinctly Green Day on that record. But yeah, I do
Canadian
remember that.
Idiot got stolen. Quit.
Let's write it. We have two options. We can do just re-record all of the songs.
Yeah, why would you
Or-
not just do that? I don't understand.
I don't know how much truth there is to that story.
That's funny. I never heard that. That's funny though.
I've been meaning to research that and figure
I
that
do
out.
Someone
remember-
knows the answer.
I do remember them saying, so thanks to that guy, because this record was like our most successful in years.
Yeah.
Didn't they actually make like a play production
Yeah.
out of it?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Which, if you pushed that record back, 2005 would have been. They could have, because Black Parade doesn't come out until 2006, the other big rock opera
Sure.
of the emo pop punk years, which I don't know why everyone was writing rock operas.
Well, like Coheed and Cambria, that's like every album they released.
That was
Yeah.
their thing.
Concept album, and they were doing that in 03.
Oh yeah.
But
Bought
they're
those
Rush
comic
fans.
books and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a
I guess
different
they're
thing.
weird. They're a little bit more weird, and they were more inspired by actual prog rock, I guess.
Yeah. The difference
Yeah.
between a concept album and a rock opera is like
Very
one
different.
is like it's very different type of nerds. It's like Dungeons and Dragon nerds and like musical theater nerds.
Sweep the black supermarkets, sweep it up with your teeth. Put your feather in a box, send it off to me. I smell oxygen pressure, beer back on your horns. Gallop off course, get off, filled with fury's force. Saw you faking the good book, the bad book, the cut over love and thinking you brought me to my knees. Your heart it brought me to my knees. Your heart it brought me to my knees. You're so perfect to please us.
I was trying to think of like other Say Anything stories or things that were like that always jumped out to me. Do you remember a couple of years ago when Max put out like a tweet saying like, we're looking for artists to design merch for us, and you'll get rewarded with merch, like 20 shirts. That's what it was. It was like 20 shirts and tickets to shows and exposure. And
Oh god.
they weren't
No.
going to pay them for it. They were just going to.
I know he puts his foot in his mouth all the time on Twitter. He's constantly saying some stupid shit, then he like walks back.
Yeah, I thought we were past the free art thing. That's not great to hear.
I distinctly remembered like every artist I follow online was like, "Fuck this guy!
Mm.
I can't pay my rent with exposure." Like,
Right. I guess can only hope that he, is open to changing and thinking differently, as I would think he would be about that.
He strikes me as someone who is. He's disowning lyrics in songs, not playing songs anymore. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then like in 2017, Dylan, you sent me like that. It was like a Brooklyn Vegan article it was like him calling out like misogyny and predators in the like.
Well, I think it was
emo.
in light of the Brendan Lacey
Yeah, the brand new, yeah.
accusations or.
So he was specifically calling for like being implicit and like really fucked up dudes in there, like taking advantage of younger fans. And so like he seems like a cool guy, like he gets it for the most part. So I mean, he does have like mental health issues. I mean, that can't be ignored. So I guess giving him the benefit of the doubt is probably best every every instance. We're just like, let's wait and see what he says after that.
I mean,
many factors.
Yeah.
I just wrote little tidbits, if you don't mind me, like
Yeah,
little other thoughts. One thing, I just love wordplay, straight up, honorary, and the like. And so, I mean, right off the bat, I don't know why I had not realized this, or maybe I did but forgot, but even Belt, even the first lyrics, song's called Belt. I didn't even really ever think of it. Like, let's see. Well, after the intro, okay. I wouldn't sell my belt to industry, so they carded me and they carted me off. I always like, the obvious carded and carted, like that's a homophone kind of wordplay. But even belt, I didn't think about belt like belting your voice. I've always thought of it just as his belt. I'm like, okay, but he wouldn't sell his belt, his voice to industry. Like I hadn't thought about it that way before.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite
belt
song
around
on
my
the album.
waist. All he's got is like his voice whatever. It was his father's one, which I also didn't know before this, that his father was like a Hollywood producer of some kind or something, or some music. I can't remember. Something like that. Yeah, I love wordplay, and so I respect that of his too. Even Whoa, like song's called Whoa, but it's like Whoa, like WOH, just the refrain. Love it.
I didn't know that about his dad. That kind of makes some of the songs make a little bit more sense.
And I hope I didn't make that up.
He's talking a lot about like the scene and the industry, and like definitely was like, it was odd to me because I was like, who were you in 2004? Like to like really be like tied into any of that kind of stuff. Like,
So he would be 20 years old in 2004. I think he was. So I think he went to Wesleyan, where he met that producer you were talking about, and then it seems like college is where the demo started, and then severe bipolar stuff also started to come out more.
Yeah, there's a lot of songs in here talking about like hipsters. Like, Admit It is like, to me, that's the most eye-rolling song. Like, I was just like, ugh. Songs about like hipsters and hypocrisy and stuff like that. Always kind of, I used to love that kind of song when I was younger, but like as I've gotten older, I'm just like, who cares?
I was
Why are
gonna
you
say,
still worried about what other
in
people?
2004, I thought that was like, yeah, tell those posers. Oh my gosh, he burns them so bad. Like, it was so hard to me. Like,
Yeah, no, I was on the same page.
yeah.
Right. Like, it's definitely something you feel in your earlier years, but like now as a 34-year-old, I'm not like, I don't care.
You got block buttons and mute buttons now and stuff, I guess. So.
I saw that Max is married to Sherry Dupree
Yep.
from Isley,
Mhm.
who was previously married to Chad Gilbert
What?
of Newfound Glory,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
who is now married to Haley Williams.
I don't know.
No,
They got,
no, not
they got
anymore, that's
divorced.
right.
Yeah, they got divorced. Yeah, that's weird.
So,
I saw them a few years ago. Max and Sherry, they were doing. It was like, I think it was called Perma. It was their little family band. They came to UNCC and they do a little acoustic show. And the Perma songs were cool, but everyone was there just for the Say Anything stuff. And you could tell that's what they wanted. So like towards the end of the set, she just walked off and Max just started to play Say Anything songs.
Which I guess is super doable because it's his
Yeah.
songs. There's no one else. There was a drummer on this record,
Mm.
So it's all him. He gets to own it and keep it forever and do whatever he wants with them.
I really liked. I've seen him a few times. He would have Isley open up. I mean, it makes sense. They had kids together. It's like, why not just tour together and take the kids with you, not have to pay a babysitter, and logistic reasons why it makes sense. But it was really great to like. There are songs she's on the self-titled, like singing with him in the recording even, and so on stage, them both singing them together. I was like, oh my god, this is adorable. I love this.
I remember there was like was there a Kickstarter for them?
So, are you thinking of the Song Shop?
There was something about they wanted. It was more because they brought their kids on tour with them. It was more of like
to pay for
to pay
stuff.
for having the kids on the road with them. That's interesting. That was like I
I
remember
don't know
being
about
like,
that.
what? Why don't they just stay home? It's like, oh wait, you're both musicians and you're touring together. So I guess it makes sense you'd want to bring your kids with you. It's just,
I've seen weirder things to have GoFundMes for, I guess.
right. Like it's how different is that version of what homeschooling than, staying in a house in the suburbs. I mean, at least you get to see the country or world depending on how big the tour is. So
Right.
I remember seeing that. It's weird. He's popped up in weird spots on the internet as far as like stuff he's done.
Yep. I read that Song Shop thing though. I've always admired him for attempting even that thing. He would open up a thing for I think it was hundreds of songs. You could pay him and he'll write either like a half like a minute long thing or a full song for you about whatever you want it to be about. That would I don't know why you would do that to yourself. Like that must have been so much work. But I heard a few of them, people posted and it's like this is he's either just a song machine, which he probably also is too, a song machine of just melodies that just but like talking about what the person said to talk about, pumping out, and that's really impressive to me.
Did he do all of the ones that were like paid for, or was it like?
Yeah, he would write you a song every single one, and he's done it a few years, I think, and each one's like 100 or something songs. It's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Not nuts. Sorry, I shouldn't say nuts. That's not. That's ambitious.
Right. It is a lot to take on. I think Ryan Rockwell from Mixtapes tried to do the same thing, and he did like 5 and quit. Like he got so many that he was like, I can't do this. I really can't.
He wrote one about our friend Corey breaking the goddamn stereo.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. So like one of our friends had a kind of connection with him, and like so he got his like song requests in, so he got like 3 30-second songs from Ryan, and yeah, one of them was about our friend Corey breaking the steering, not the steering wheel, but like he punched his steering wheel and then went out in like the dashboard while we were on our way too fast. Like we were like in Jacksonville when he did it.
That's funny.
I forgot about that. I'll have to ask him to dig that song out.
Any other thoughts? Does anyone want to get into Max Bemis's run on Fool Killer and
comics?
I did he do? He did
so
A+.
Excited when Polarity was the first thing I think that he did as like a published. Well, I don't know about first thing, but it was called Polarity about like a guy who was bipolar, but like when he was either end of being bipolar was like his superpower, and it like straight up gave him superpowers. I was like, this is really. I just was getting into comics at the time, and I was like, this is an interesting idea, and I haven't followed a ton with the other stuff he's written, but I like that he's a comic writer too.
Yeah, so he does some with Moon Knight, isn't like the big thing?
He
I
did.
think he did write Moon Knight.
He did do a run of Moon Knight, which
I forgot he did an X-Men miniseries called Worst X-Man Ever that I really loved.
Oh yeah,
For real?
I never read that, but I remember that.
It was like a
title.
5-issue miniseries, and like the kid is like a teenager, and like his only power is he can explode, but he can only explode one time because it will kill him. So like the story is just like him trying to decide is now the time I use my power, the one time I can do it, and
That's funny.
it was a really good miniseries. I forgot about that. I should dig that out and reread it.
yeah, I'm looking at. He did do a run on Moon Knight, which I should go find that and read that. Feel like he would write that character well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
I remember reading Polarity, the instant reading. I'm like, oh my! If I didn't even know who wrote this, like the way he writes stuff is so obviously him. I probably could have guessed anyway. Even comics, it's like lyrics almost, but like not rhyming or music.
Yeah,
done.
It is funny because it is like it's two different skills. Like being able to write really good lyrics is not the same as writing a narrative. So
Right. It was definitely a lot of dialogue that just is not how people would say words in a conversation. But I guess a lot of comic art writers can't help but you got to take some liberties.
yeah. I guess that's why Claudio from Coheed has not really had any Marvel Comics work. it's all
Yeah, I
just,
don't know if that level of meta would work in.
it's just his stuff that gets published.
Yeah. Well, Gerard Way,
That's true.
all of his stuff, most of what he's done has just been his own stuff. Because I don't think he's done, like, he did, like, a Spider-Verse, like, one
Right.
issue.
Yeah.
Edge of Spider-Verse.
Yeah. It's always funny to see, like, musicians do comics. Especially, like, big comics like that, too. Like,
Mhm.
big publishers.
I feel like Umbrella Academy, how he writes that, though, is farther away from how he writes the lyrics of My Chemical Romance songs than Max B. At least I've only read Polarity. It was just one miniseries, but it was farther away than I felt like Mac. It was him when he was writing that comic issue, which is funny to me.
Yeah. I mean, editors have a role to play, too. So I bet in something creator owned, it's going to sound more authentically him than something is like,
That's
this
also
is a
true.
corporate owned character. We need him to sound a certain way.
Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right about that, actually.
I think I've covered everything
Yeah.
in my notes.
I'm almost out of battery life.
Oh yeah, we should probably wrap up then. Thanks a lot for doing the show. Where can we find Petrov's music online? Buy some physical medias, all that good stuff.
Let's see. Spotify is pretty easy. Petrov.
You can buy stuff from the Self-Aware Records website.
Yeah, I think both of our band camps have our EP now. I think we might have stopped. We ran out of the shirts to be enough to be able to put up online. But hit us up. Get your shirt if we got the size. But it's let's see. Bandcamp is it's all Petrov CLT for Charlotte. Petrov CLT for Bandcamp, Twitter, Instagram, and I believe Facebook as well. That's that.
I'll put links to all that in the show notes as well. And lastly, I sent this in the email to you. Do you have any charities? Whoa.
I dropped my phone.
Do you have any charities or nonprofits you'd like to specifically call out? Because we like to ask people that.
I wrote a few, Matt. You got any?
The Save Our Stages petition, does that count as a charity?
For sure.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
It's pretty important right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, write your senators about saving little venues.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, every week there seems like there's a new story about a historic venue shutting down. It's like, man, when we come out of this, it's going to be a very different place for live music in a lot of ways. But
We don't want a bunch of Live Nation
no.
Oh, God.
to take over.
No.
We don't want that to be the only option.
Nope. Let's see, there's that. I was just going to say to donate and spread the word about this Georgia runoff race coming up.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff. Let's get it.
I just saw a headline that said Joe Biden's Georgia confirmed. So it's Georgia.
You just have to hope he hasn't got enough sycophants in the Pentagon to do a military coup.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just replace electors. It's getting wild.
Yeah.
I was also going to say directly straight up to just Black Lives Matter Global Network, and then any international crises of the millions happening as well to also keep in mind.
Yeah.
Those are the
Yes.
only specific ones, the first two, though. that I have.
Yes.
Cool. I'll put those in the show notes as well. Yeah, thanks a lot for doing the show. We really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
you
us.
coming on. Yeah.
Thanks for having us. Sorry to make you talk about an album you both do not like.
No, it's a big record. It's worth talking about, regardless of. This is why we have guests, honestly, because if it was just me and Dylan, we would go, "This record stinks. I don't like it." And so
I do want to throw out there. I thought the song "An Orgy of Critics" was great. Like great. I wish the whole record sounded like that because they make a great hardcore band. Like that one song was totally different, but it was great. I thought it was cool.
That's a good point.
it's a good note to end the show on, I guess. But yeah, thanks a lot.